Bout number 11 is brought to you by Jackson County Tow. Been servicing the Metro for over 20 years. Big or small, we're always on our toes. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, Jared McLoughlin. And his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, King Black Cat, Nick Meck.
Oh, baby, let's go. Who the hometown favorite is. I don't agree with the boos. I don't think any fighter should be getting booed for coming out here and putting it all on the line and getting into a fist fight. But Nick Meck is definitely the hometown favorite.
Quick touch of the gloves, and we're underway. Jared McLoughlin in his last outing, you know, kind of a strange performance. You know, basically cruised through the entire first round, and what I thought was a very, very dominating performance. Maybe lost the last 45 seconds of it, and then just for some reason couldn't answer the bell going into round 2.
Yeah, I saw he had a loss via retirement. I'm not sure if there was some sort of injury there, what was going on, but looking pretty good in the stand-up. As I say that, Nick Meck was able to land a left hand and out in on a takedown, which we've seen time and time again for him. McLoughlin wrapped up the head here.
Did a really good job corralling Nicholas Meck back into his guard to stop him from getting cross-body. But
Nick trying to cross sides here, but the fence is preventing him, but now he's out of this guillotine, and Nick finds himself in his realm here where he wants to be, which is on top of McLoughlin. 1 minute into the fight, bodies are still dry. This is exactly where Nick Meck wants to be.
Yeah, he's got that bottom hip control. Look how he's turning that inside knee underneath the hip of Jared McLoughlin. Just like that. You see a lot of the Dagestanis, like you were referring to earlier, that's the control they elect to go to when they're in this half guard position, as opposed to using that butterfly hook to pin down the knee.
It forces you to become unathletic, right? To be athletic and bounce your feet off the mat, you have to have the bottoms of your sole, of your feet on the mat to push off. This completely takes your foot off the mat, and it makes it very difficult to push off, and it puts you in an unathletic position.
Nicholas Meck chest to chest, just smothering Jared McLoughlin right now. Yeah, as a bottom person in a grappling exchange, there's usually 2 principles you got to stand by. Never let anyone touch your face. Never let anyone get chest to chest for you, or otherwise it's going to be a long night before you get back to your feet.
That's a great guideline, right? You don't want your shoulder blades flat on the mat. You want to be on your side. But Nick Meck, that's why it's called a fight, because Nick Meck wants to do that to you, and you want to do the opposite.
And look at Nick Meck's left hand here. He's covering the mouth and nose of Jared McLoughlin and using the right hand to just crunch in that shoulder pressure as much as possible.
Smothering McLoughlin right now, being nasty, putting his hand on his face, covering his mouth, his nose. I once had a guy pinch my nose in a jiu-jitsu match, and I was like, wow, I'm going to start using that.
Never wanted to fight anyone more in your life, huh?
But yeah, this is what you want to do. This isn't, we're not here to play golf. This is a fist fight. And if I can make you uncomfortable and build anxiety and make you move and make a mistake, I'm going to do just that. As we see Nick Meck fishing for a Kimura, his favorite submission.
Right.
I spoke to him about this, Justin, and I told him, I don't want to say I was the reason for this, but I was the reason. No, I'm kidding. But literally, I told him, hey, find a submission you like and build your whole game around it. Try to find a way where you get there the whole time. Whether that's your pass gets you closer to that, then your next pass gets you closer than that, and then the way you cover this gets you closer to that, and then you find yourself in that position.
Well, and especially from the way, we've seen Nicholas Meck attack the half guard position tonight, almost turning his back to his opponent, but getting his knee underneath the hips. That's the ultimate setup to elicit that underhook response that you need to get the Kimura for your top.
And we talked about being grimy and being nasty and making your opponent uncomfortable. Look at the way Nick Meck is digging his forehead, the top of his head into McLaughlin's chin. So he's pushing his chin with his head into the fence. Double uncomfortableness being done to McLoughlin right now.
He kind of circled McLaughlin's back off the cage here himself, kind of opened himself up for that armbar attempt, but now working the head back. And, like you were saying, he's using that great head position there. He almost had McLaughlin's head folded all the way in half.
And just for the people at home, there's a battle going on here. We saw in the last fight, the guy on top wants to land ground and pound. Bottom guy wants to avoid it and throw up submissions, and it's just an ongoing fight. It's very tiring for the person on bottom, but you know, it's not easy going for the guy on top too. He has to constantly be moving, avoiding submission attempts, and seeing what can be landed and thrown.
One thing McLoughlin is doing, though, is he's doing a great job of keeping his bottom side wrist from getting trapped. You know, with a guy who's such a ground and pound specialist like Nicholas Meck like that, I mean, once he gets that wrist trapped, you're dead in the water.
And if you're McLoughlin, you want to create space, and right now, just not taking damage isn't going to win you the fight. You need to get your feet on the hips. I know it's easier said than done, but you got to try to move this Nick Meck's head. You got to try to create space, feet on the hips if you can. Throw up these submissions like you were trying earlier, but do them with the intent of creating space and not necessarily trying to finish the submission.
10 seconds left here in round number 1 of this welterweight excursion.
And Nick Meck framing his elbow on the neck of McLoughlin. So you're getting choked, and then you're getting your body punched at the same time.
Just constantly draining the energy bar.
I'm interested to see McLoughlin on the stool. Just, you know, we spoke about his last fight where he was winning the fight up until the last minute, and then he didn't answer the bell in the second round. You know, he looks okay here going into the second, but here in the replay, we see McLaughlin striking looked real good. Nick Meck went in for this blitz and immediately in on the double leg, which was defended well at first. I think McLaughlin jumped the gun going for this guillotine. I think the initial defense was the appropriate response, hipping in. He had an underhook, but fished for the neck instead of defending the takedown first, which resulted in him being on the bottom for the rest of the fight. The rest of the round, excuse me. And then Nick Meck framing here at the end of the round. Look how uncomfortable this makes you. You have someone putting all their weight into their forearm as it's grinding into your throat, forcing you to move. Nick Meck looking as cool as a cucumber, and McLoughlin looks good too for just, you know, the amount of control that Nick Meck had over him, and the gruesome things he was doing to him. They both look like their cardio's up there, and they're both in shape. Big body kick by McLoughlin.
Big explosion there from Nicholas Meck with that left hand. Another one finds the home behind the ear. Head coach Trey Ogden saying he's only hitting you when you circle to the left, go to the right and throw the left hand. And just like that, it works.
That was beautiful head movement. He ducked underneath the check hook of McLoughlin to land his own overhand left. Got in on the double leg and finds himself where he found himself last round, which is on top, with McLaughlin's butt scooted against the fence.
Masterful head position again from Nicholas Meck. See McLoughlin looking to lock up that body triangle on bottom. You know, that tells me one thing. He's just content for staying here.
Yeah, when you lock up a body triangle from bottom, it pretty much insinuates that you want to stay here, that you're okay and complacent in the position you are in right now.
You know, possibly looking for a 100% sweep if he can take him to his right, wrap the guillotine. He's got the underhook on the far side, but I just...
Yeah, going to be very difficult to do against someone like Nick Meck, who's so good at
there's the Hayes
so
guard
good at realizing
again.
where his weight is and applying that weight towards McLoughlin.
If he can take that left arm and feed it underneath the armpit of Nicholas Meck over the head, you know, it almost simulate the guillotine effect, but use that to sweep. But you know,
or even if it's not to sweep, just to create space. And I feel like a lot of times, especially for the younger guys, they try to, it's either 100% a submission or 100% a sweep, or it's nothing. And just the concept of space.
And off balance.
Exactly, just creating space. When you off balance someone, what does that do? It creates space. The enemy of wrestling is space. As we see McLoughlin fish for the neck here. Let's see if he tries to pull it.
Really solid front headlock series so far, forcing Nicholas Meck to his back. That's how you know he's in danger.
Great defense by Meck, attacking the elbow on the choking hand and rolling with it. Anytime he felt like McLoughlin got it deeper or was going to pull it, he just rolled with it. Great defense shown by Nick Meck. I'm sure that was learned from Trey Ogden, his head coach's nasty guillotine that has probably been applied to Nick Meck a million times.
Ooh, big right hand eaten by Nicholas Meck.
And even though his hand was up and there was somewhat of a guard there, that goes through the guard pretty easy, right? One hand versus a bombing overhand, you still feel the impact of that. And McLoughlin in on his own takedown.
Nicholas Meck back up to his feet, just pure strength and will. And maybe a little bit of a fence grab on the backside.
Big fence grab, not seen by referee Nick Bolton.
Wow, what a scramble. Does he have a Kimura through the leg here?
He does have a Kimura grip. Let's see if he's gonna let go of that. He does need to not have his leg involved, but he can go to it now. He missed the opportunity for it, but now he goes back to it.
He's got to bring that left elbow back a little bit higher on the head.
This fence is gonna make it tough to finish, so McLaughlin's fortunate that his back's against the fence. You don't say that very often, but he just doesn't have the space to create the crank. Nick Meck probably gonna try to circle him off to create the space.
If Nick Meck starts to circle him to his right and get his head off the cage, he can really start to make a little bit of effort to maybe step over. But the enemy of the Kimura is getting the back flat. So he's such a weird position right now. There's the head coverage, but now the cage is in the way. So he needs to press down and change the direction of the lock before he goes to pull it back. You know, he's got one hand blocked. He's got to press it down and unhook it from the leg here. Once he can get this behind the hip.
McLoughlin grabbing connecting his hands to try to defend this Kimura. It is legal. It is perfectly legal for McLoughlin to hold his own shorts here.
Yeah, he can hold his own shorts. He can hold inside of his own gloves. But there's the arm all the way above his head.
Look, going for a straight arm extension, which I've seen these snap when it's, oh, that's tight. He's going for two submissions in one, right? It's either go for the Kimura or go for the straight arm lock extension. It'd be tough to try to finish both. I'd like to see him be fully committed to one or the other.
Back onto the Kimura now. He's got to stay heavy on this head from right here. 10 seconds left. Very, very smart tactically from Nicholas Meck after hearing the clap, just to hold on and ride it out. A little bit of change of pace here in round number 2, a little bit more evenly matched. Jared McLoughlin getting a takedown of his own there. You know, a little bit of a resurgence, but Nicholas Meck, you know, foot on the gas since the second we have started.
It's good to see this for Nick Meck, you know, facing some adversity, right? Because it's been shutouts his whole career. Here we see McLoughlin try to wrap up that front headlock, trying to see if there's a choke there. Nick Meck defended beautifully. You know, this is what you want to do. Preemptive rolls before it gets super tight. Fighting the choking arm elbow, cross sides. And here we see McLoughlin in on his own shot. He's able to get a body lock, secure the takedown, but Nick Meck ends up on top. And that's what you want to see. Deal with the adversity and come out on top like Nick Meck did. And then towards the end of the round, was trying to wrap up that Kimura, switched to a straight arm lock, and was almost going for both at the end. That's not, you know, I would like to see him commit to one or the other. Maybe could have finished it there, but regardless, threatening with the submission, that is very, very dangerous. And Nick Meck's in the corner, once again imploring him to circle to his right, away from the power hand of Jared McLoughlin. Nick Meck looking a little fatigued there. Big knee finds the chin of Nick Meck as he ducks down. Maybe thought takedown, maybe didn't, but ended up eating a knee for the thought.
Yeah, it looked like he was feinting the level change just to get his back off the cage and maybe circle out, and caught a knee, and another one answers.
Meck looking a little tired here in this third round. I mean, I don't blame him. It's been very high-paced first and second.
Big left hand down the pipe.
If I'm Jared McLoughlin, I'm feigning at Nick Meck as we see him take a peek at the clock there. Still a lot of this round to go. I'm feigning at him. I want those reactions. It seems like Nick Meck strikes a lot in blitzes, so I want to draw those blitzes out.
Yeah, I mean, everything he's thrown has been searching for that delete button, and a lot of overcommitments, but that's what makes his takedown so effective. You know, he overcommits to those strikes and gets you to raise that guard, and now his level has already changed.
I like the idea from McLoughlin, level-changing combos, like the uppercuts, the knees, things up the middle to, if Nick Meck's gonna shoot, I'm gonna show you this. I wanna put that hesitancy in your head, like, okay, you wanna shoot, I'm gonna meet you with the knee, I'm gonna meet you with an uppercut.
Right, starting and closing every combo with a shot below the sternum.
Good subtle feints from Jared. I want those hard feints, big uppercut.
Good sprawl there, locking his hands together. Nice drag attempt. Jumping the gilly here.
McLoughlin dropping for the guillotine. Gonna be hard to finish.
Especially an arm in. Jumping an arm in is very, very difficult.
Good
Big knee lands.
Nick Meck looking at the clock. He's tired. Nick Meck is facing the fatigue, you know.
Yeah, usually he's the one, you know, pressing the distance the whole time, but you know, Jared McLoughlin is not fading at all.
Justin, I'm sure you know this from being a participant of the sport of jiu-jitsu, but fatigue makes cowards of grown men. You know, whenever you're tired, your body just doesn't react. Your brain knows what to do, but your body's just like, get me out of here, man. Give me a Gatorade. I'm tired. And I think Nick Meck's a bit exhausted, and Jared just has a little more juice in him right now.
You know, I would assume with all the experience Nicholas Meck has on the collegiate wrestling mats, he's competed tired a few times before. I don't see him quitting in any sense, but he's definitely slowing down.
Nick Meck has looked at the clock now 4 times this round. Looked to the referee for an eye poke just now. You know, I think he is tired, and you're right. He has competed tired probably a million times, and this is part of the sport, is battling through adversity and, you know, part of that attrition. But I would love to have seen McLoughlin when they were out in the open standing up is hard feints, just hard feint. Yell at him if you need to. A little grunt just to get Nick Meck to react, especially when he's fatigued.
McLoughlin doing a good job keeping his heels dug into the side of the cage here and not letting his back and hips off the mat.
And smart on Meck here to kind of chew up the clock, you know, not really try to finish the takedown. And I think referee Nick saw that was what was happening. It was him chewing up the clock as he takes a peek at the clock one more time.
Yeah, a little bit of gamesmanship there. Kind of steal 45 seconds or so in that round.
If I'm McLoughlin, I'm teeping the body. I want to hurt you to the body. I can tell you're already a little. And I think if this was Pride, we'd be getting a yellow card here for the inactivity of Nick Meck. Beautiful double leg and drive. You know, doing what you have to do to secure the win, no matter how you're feeling, if you're tired. I will say the second round was more competitive, and who knows what the judges are seeing. So, you know, if the last thing they see is you run around the cage for 3 minutes.
Yeah, it could get dicey.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very vocal about not being a fan of the scoring system in the state of Missouri, but you know, sometimes we can get some weird decisions.
Yeah, we've seen some fishy scorecards even here tonight.
Pull him out, Nick. Pull him out.
10 seconds left here in round number 3. Three rounds down. We are awaiting the official decision here in our 3rd professional bout of the evening. 2 straight decisions for the first time tonight.
Here in the replay, we see that knee. It looks like it glanced off the side of Nick Meck's head, almost onto the shoulder. If that was just a couple inches to the left, that could have been lights out for Nick Meck. Here in the 3rd, we see McLoughlin try to jump Gilly. Just couldn't find the right angle for it. Meck did a good job of staying upright, fighting the hands, made a knee on the way out, but it's better than getting choked unconscious as he peeks at the clock. And man, I think with the win, like again, we don't know judges' scorecards, but with the win, Nick Meck can really learn from this. Realize how tired he got. Fix whatever it was that maybe the overexertion in the grappling, maybe a cardio issue that can be solved with training, you know, cardio, running, whatever it is, more rounds, more live rounds. I know they train really hard at Marathon MMA. Maybe diet, who knows? I know Nick Meck's a big eater. I respect it. Whatever it is, you can learn from this. You never want to feel like this again in a 3rd round where you're looking at the clock and just like, oh man, I don't want to be here right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, all three judges scored the bout 29-28. Your winner by unanimous decision, out of the red corner, Nick Meck.
I do believe that was the right call, 29-28 in the Milagro Tequila winner's circle. Nicholas Meck improving to 8-0.
Hard-fought win by Nick Meck. Went through the adversity of the third round of being fatigued. I mentioned earlier, fatigue makes cowards of grown men. I've seen the toughest dudes, the savages, that, you know, start putting their hands on their hips. They start shying away. It's easier for them to tap. It's easier for them to get put out because of fatigue. And it's something that is fixable. You know, you can judge, you can fix the amount of energy being expended in certain positions and certain techniques and certain takedowns. Or if it's cardio, diet, it can be addressed. And I feel like Nick Meck's gonna learn a lot from this, dealing with the adversity. He can go have some ice cream right now, but maybe not too much. I know he loves ice cream, and learn from this. It's a lot easier to learn off a win. Congrats to Nick Meck on another impressive performance.
Speaking of impressive performances, next up we have our co-main event of the evening, Zach Scroggins versus Jeremiah Curtright. As we've been hyping all night, two consummate finishers